what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple questions in here, and we're going to see how all this A, B, and D values work. Now, here is a Ferris wheel question, and you see how they give all of these. These are your X, and these are your Y's. And Monday, we'll be putting those into our calculator, but I don't want it to be about that today. I want it to be about understanding how the formula works. Now, I just want to, I'm going to give you the equation. So it's h of t equals 38 sine 0.70t minus 1.57 plus 42. Now that is the equation of a Ferris wheel. Now, maybe even right now you're looking at that going, whoa, like, whatever. How does this have anything to do with the Ferris wheel? How am I supposed to get information from this? I mean, it looks pretty daunting. Like, look at it, right? But this came from, if you put these into L1, L2, and then hit linear regression, or sorry, sine regression, you'll get this, okay? And we'll be doing that Monday. Today we're not going to do that. But that's the equation you're going to get. But I do want to talk about this equation just like we did today. Now, if I want to graph this, I need to obviously have some window settings in place. Now, let's pretend we don't have a picture, okay? So kind of see what I'm seeing. They give me this on the diploma, and they say, what would be adequate window settings to graph this? And they give a bunch of window settings. And only one of them's right. Now, I want us to, do we see any of the, there's 4 letters we need to know. Which letter is which in this formula? Okay, so A is 38, B is 0.7, okay, that's C, and D, okay. So now maybe just with that one little move, this may not seem so foreign. It might even be relating to the stuff we have been doing all week. Now, what is the highest? This is a Ferris wheel going around. What is the highest this Ferris wheel ever goes? No. 80 meters. Okay? That may be the question on the diploma. How high does this Ferris wheel go? It's 80 meters. Okay? Now, 80 can't be a guess. They got it somehow. So someone has to let the rest of us know.
The mid value plus the amplitude.
So max equals D plus A. Do you remember that? Okay? So we had to know that yesterday. We had to know that the day before. We still got to know it. Remember what D is. D is the middle. From the middle up is my max, is it not? Okay? So my max is D is 42. The middle plus the amplitude is 38. So my max is 80. That is the highest that Ferris wheel goes. Now you do not want to give that question up in the diploma. You do not want to be guessing on that one. Okay? D plus A, my middle plus the amplitude. Now my min, what is the lowest that will go? D minus A is my minimum, correct? Because D, and then I come down, so that's 42 minus 38. We get 4. Now, why, if I was to graph this, why do I need to know those? Window settings, what should be my minimum? 0. I would make it 0, wouldn't you? What's max? 85. Do you see what they'll have? They'll have 10 to 70. Do you see how 10 to 70? Don't pick that one because you can't see the graph. Okay, 0 to 100, 0 to 90, 0 to, and that's all they might ask. What would be appropriate window settings? Now that's a tough question. But if you just know the one little step, hey, that's just my D plus my A is my max, my min, I got to just make sure I see max and min. Okay? Now, we've got that figured out. We'll put that into our calculator in a sec. I need to know how, because that's how high, right? My max and my min. I need to know how big my x should be. What determines if I can see my whole graph? Come on, what part of A, B, C, and D will help me? D is my up-down. C? Using B, you can find the period. If you know the period, wouldn't you see the graph do one whole thing? Because that's what period is. Right? So this will be for the X settings, right? Or sorry, Y. No, sorry. Yeah, Y settings. Okay, let's talk about my X settings. We need the period. Now, we don't know the period, do we? We can find it because the period is, what does P equal? 2 pi over B. So 2 pi divided by 0.70. And what do we get? 9. Equals 9. What do we? Yep. No. Yeah, 9. So that means every 9 minutes it goes around once. Wouldn't that be our, not our X scale, that's the period. We've got to go 0 to 9 to see it all. We can go by 1 minute, okay? So here's, and we're going to write this under the copyright thing because this is like, so for my X, let's go 0, 9, 1. You don't have that? Oh, yeah, you know what? I had to like white it out so I could send it out to the photocopier. Don't tell anybody. Okay, Y. What's my Y? 0. Okay, let's go 90, comma, and whatever. Let's go by tens. So, do you see the amount, like, maybe you think this is too easy, but do you see the amount you need to know to pick the right window settings? And they always ask a window setting question. It's weird. But they do want to know, like, do you know how to use your graphing calculator, right? Technology is part of the curriculum. They want to know, do you know your window settings? So what I'd like to do is to show you, this thing always, I know it happens so slow, the first one never comes and then it comes two. So what I'm going to do is the first thing, I'm going to go to my window settings and I'm going to put my X is 0, 9, 1. My Y min is 0, 90, 10. Yes?
Why are we changing our X and Y stuff?
Because we want to be able to see this graph.
The scale.
Oh, the scale?
Yeah.
You could go by 1s or 10. You know what? You're never going to win or lose by picking the wrong scale. Okay? It's the 0, 9 and the 0, 90. And then I'm going to put it in. 38. Sine. See how the bracket will open? 0.70. Use the x instead of the t, minus 1.57. Plus 42. So after you pick your window settings in your multiple choice, try them, right? Make sure you see a nice graph. So this is the Ferris wheel. You get on, up, back down in 9 minutes. Okay? Now, if we just look up here for a second, do you see your points up here? 0, 4. 0, 4. Let's just graph that. That's right about there. The next point is 2.25, 42. Okay, again, sort of have to eye it, right? You don't have to be perfect. The next one is 4.5, 80. These are the actual points they got. 6.75, 42, and 9, 4. And then we just connect. So that is pretty good verification. We picked the right window settings because we chose ours from not the data. We chose them from A, B, and D. Well, we will beat the scale, and I let you guys pick the window settings, right? I mean, I picked the 10 because, but if I didn't, I mean, the only thing that changes if you put 1 here is you just get way more, like the ticks are so close because there's 100 of them on the side that you won't see them, right?
I apologize for the interruption. Donovan Philby, if you could come to the main office. Donovan Philby to the main office, please. Thank you.
Now, if you have the correct window settings, you will see the entire graph. Then you can answer the questions that they may ask you. Now, the first one says, how high to the nearest meter is the cart 5 minutes after the Ferris wheel starts rotating? You can put X for 5, but now that I've got it in my calculator, because I'm a busy guy, I got places to go, things to do, I'm just going to hit trace 5, right? When they give me the X, I can put it in. So you hit trace 5, enter. You don't have to go up because we're not in stat mode, right? So after 5 minutes, I am at 77.6 feet. No, but that doesn't matter, right? This is obviously from the data. Okay. So you get your H to be 77 point, what do we say? 6. Is it meters or feet? Meters. Now, what Tane said is true too. If you put in the time, if you put in a 5 here and put it all in, you should get the same thing. Yep. Oh, it says to the nearest meter? Okay. To the nearest meter. Okay. So, ignore all the nice stuff I said about Tane. Move that over to Brad. Okay. Now, again, these are diploma questions, right? How many seconds after the wheel starts rotating does the cart first reach 10 meters? Okay. So that's going to be harder to do with the formula, quite easy to do on your calculator. So you're going to go your Y2. Oh, I can't believe. No. Everything else in this world has an undo button except for this calculator, right? That's my favorite button in the world on my computer. That has saved me more times. Okay, did anyone put it in? Yes. What do you get for Y? So we're going to put Y2 equals 10.
8.2 seconds.
And you're going to hit intersect, right?
So basically 1 second.
No. It's 0.8126 minutes.
That's just nearest minutes.
I'm not. It doesn't say to the nearest minute, it says to the nearest second, but that is giving me minutes, right? Look, it's minutes. That's 0.821 minutes, okay? So we got to get that first. We'll talk about seconds in a second, but you have to understand that minutes is what I get. Now I will multiply by that 60 seconds is 1 minute, and you will get 48.75, which is 49 seconds to the nearest. Okay? So remember, you got to know your units. Now, what's really nice about the diploma that I've found is they will not have 0.812 minutes, 0.812 seconds. They'll all be in seconds, and you'll look at your 0.8126 and go, wow, I must have done it totally wrong, or I haven't gone far enough yet. So they're not mean. They're not going to have 0.8126 seconds. That's going to draw you in on that. They're very fair that if you know the math and you get it, you're not seeing the matchup, that you can keep going, right? They're not just trying to draw you off on, you know, little technicalities like that. Okay, so do you get the correlation of what is D really on a Ferris wheel? The middle, where that axle is, where the axle. No, it's not the radius. Okay, what's the radius? 38, right? And 38 down. So diameter would be 2 times 38, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's important. Now, if you raised the entire Ferris wheel, what changes? Does everything change? That's what they want you to say. That's the distractor. If I took the entire Ferris wheel and moved it up 1 meter, does the amplitude change? No. Just your D. But they ask things like that. Like if you had a tire in a car and you jacked the car up, right? What does it change? Just the D. It will not change your app. Like, why would your tire get bigger? Right? Would it change your max and min? Yeah, your max and min would change because your D changed, so now your max does change, right? It changes the max, right? So, yes?
Amplitude always equal the radius?
Yeah, for anything that's round. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to do one more. We're going to do number 2. Now, okay, so here's some points I want us to put down. So you can see these are going by hours, right? Do you see midnight, midday? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 20, 22, 23. Okay, so that's hours in a day. And hours or days are very periodic. Like they repeat every day the same thing, right? And this is talking about tides coming in and out of a harbor. Now, tides coming in and out of a harbor are really important. I don't know if you've ever been to harbor cities or whatever. There's huge, huge boats that are sitting out away from shore. And what that means is the tide's too low, right? So when the tide comes up, these little tugboats go, they pull it in, they unload, and then they have to get it out before the tide goes back down. Because if the tide goes back down, crushes the ship, right? They're not strong enough to handle that, right? So it's kind of important they know their tide schedule. And the person that's in charge of the harbor, right, he has to know that perfectly, or you could see where his job's on the line if he doesn't get those ships out fast enough, right? So this stuff is actually true. This is all, they've got it all documented and everything. At different times of the year it changes, but let's just pretend within 1 week it stays very consistent. When to take them back out, because Because sometimes they'll even have to, they'll only get them half unloaded, and then they got to take it back out, wait again, and bring it back in. So I just want to, and then we've got depth, so 10, and it looks like we're going by 2s, right? So another point that I'd like you to put is, so was it 414, okay? Put that one down, 414, 7, 6. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 8. And the next one is 10, 14. And then 16, 14. 19, 6. And 22, 14. And then we're going to start just above 20 here, and I just want you to kind of draw a sine curve. Okay, so that's your tide. Now, from this, we're going to do just like the quiz today. And again, this would be what you consider an excellence question in the diploma. Now, those points, that you wouldn't be drawing them. They would just have that there, and they would say, what's the equation? Okay, that's it. And that's definitely an excellence question, because just to be able to look at it like at a picture and come up with an entire equation, that's not easy. Okay, you have to know everything of this unit to do that question. So it is good to kind of, sometimes they will lead you through this stuff, because just like today's quiz, I led you through that. Okay, so what would be the amplitude? Max minus min. Okay, so what's max? So amp equals 22 minus 6 divided by 2. So 22 minus 6 is 16 over 2 equals 8. So my amplitude is 8. Now it says period next, but I'd like to go midline because I want to check this out, right? After I figure it out, I always draw it because I tend to make a lot of mistakes. You know how I'm always telling you guys to do all these things so you don't make mistakes? That's from my experience. I'm not saying you guys make a lot of mistakes, just I always did, so if I put the stuff in a place I didn't. So mid, how do I find my mid value? What? Max plus min. So that's 22 plus 6 over 2. That's 28 divided by 2 equals 14. Okay? So I am just going to put, I want to draw that in there, because then I'm not going to go on for a half an hour and do a bunch of work if I didn't even get these right. So I draw my 14 in there, and I look at it like you just, you know, look a bit higher, and okay, that makes sense, right? Does that look like a midline? And you'll know, because the amplitude should be the height above and below. So from here to here, it is 246. From there to there, that's not right. Okay, see, made a mistake. Yeah, so obviously there's a mistake. Oh, it's supposed to be 8, my amplitude. Oh yeah, that's 8. I was listening to Yusuf again. That's where you're going to run into problems. Hopefully you're not sitting beside Yusuf on the diploma. It's 6. It's 6. You're like, Yusuf, what'd you tell me 6 for? Yeah, well, that'll teach you. That'll learn you. Sitting beside Yusuf and cheating from him. That'll teach you some things. Okay? Now, visually, what do we get for the period? No.
It's 10.
Okay? Now, do you know, I do find, for me, the easiest to find period is go from peak to peak. I do find that the easiest for me. Sometimes the lowest I don't get very well. But peak to peak, or you can go low to low, doesn't matter. Okay? But then you just, you know your increments are ones, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay? So period equals 12 hours, which kind of makes sense. And they're really good at picking questions, like you're not allowed to put questions in the diploma that don't make sense. Okay? So, you know, if it was, like, you know, well, I don't want to give you an example of something that doesn't make sense. I don't think it's, okay? Now, from this, we're going to come up with, so this is very similar to the quiz today. We're just going to come up now with an equation. Everything's ready to put in except for what? B. Well, C's done. Look. See how they gave us C already? And I've told you this. They're going to give you C most times. Well, they will give you C. Okay, so what do we know in here so far? A is what? Okay, what else do I know? B is what? Okay, so you're saying D is 4? 14. Okay, what's B? How do I find B?
2 pi period.
Over the period. So that would be 2 pi over 12. The 2 over 12 becomes 1/6, right? So that's going to be 1/6 pi, or you'll see it written like this more often, pi over 6. Now, we're going to write it. Y equals 8 times pi over 6. Oops. That was Yusa's fault again. Sine pi over 6t plus pi over 3. Don't ignore that, because they gave it to us for a reason that I wouldn't be able to get the right graph if I didn't put that in. Now, what I want to do, I'm just going to clear this quick. What window settings, by even looking up here, if I want it to look exactly like theirs, make your x the same. So 0 and, no, they're up to 24, right? X's are my x, right? And went by ones. My y is the side, right? X is the bottom. So that's 0, they go up to 30, and they're going by 2. So this is how you will guarantee you get the question right in the diploma. Because to not do this, right, even doing it as a class, we made a couple mistakes, right? No thanks to Yusuf. Okay, so now I'm going to put it in 8, sine, and what mode do I have to be in? Radians, or this never works. So I always put my fractions in brackets. It's pi over 6x plus pi over 3, because I find sometimes more than not, you get them wrong. Okay, and then I'm closing my bracket. Do you see how that I've got all of sine inside there? And then plus 14. So that would be after I'm done. You've got to shut that. That 14 does not belong in the sine. And then hopefully it looks like the picture they gave me. Like, that's such good affirmation, I think, to go on to the next question. And it doesn't take that long, and in fact, it's going to help me with maybe some of the questions they ask. We got it right, Yusuf. We sink together, we swim together. Now, calculate the depth of water to the nearest tenth of a meter at midnight. So are they giving me the x or the y? The x. So I will hit trace. What's midnight? 24. 20.9 meters. Now, what if I would have done this? What if I would have went trace 0? Why is 0 the same thing as 24? Because midnight, we start at midnight, we end at midnight. So you can see even on the graph, do you see how it goes midnight all the way to midnight? So it happens twice. Okay? There's 2 midnights at a night. Okay, what is the value of t at 3:30 p.m.? Now this isn't, well, yeah, no, they're giving me the x, aren't they? So, but what would I use? Trace. See, look on here, 3:30 p.m. What is 3:30 p.m.? No. 3.5 is right there. This is still the morning. 15.5. Okay? So let's go to the next. So let's write it's not 3.5. That means 3:30 a.m. We have to go 15.5 because that means 3:30 p.m. Again, we're talking about the excellence question that they're going to ask, okay? There is 10 out of 10 difficulty on this. An excellence question is 5 to 10% of the province will get it. No, an excellence question is 5 to 10% of the province will get that question. So they field test all of their questions. All of the questions that have ever been done on the diploma have been done by students already. It comes in, 90% of the students got it wrong. Because they have to make this exam so it gets a 65 average. So they take all of the percentages of all what the students have got across the province and they make the exam. And they're very, very close all the time because it's been tested by students. They didn't just put it in a computer, right? But, you know, and I analyze my questions. Like when I get them back, I get exactly what you guys, right? So every year, right, I see what's going on and I work on those questions, right? So theoretically, I can get all the bugs out so everybody knows what's on the diploma. So we're going to put trace 15.5. And you should get 16.1 meters. Okay? So, and then we're not going to do sinusoidal regression today. So what we're doing today is the hardest part of Monday, because Monday's all going to be put these things in and get your regression and then do these things anyway. What I wanted to do today was ignore putting the points in the calculator. So here's what you're going to be working on today. You're going to be doing number 3, but I don't want you doing sign regression. So here is the y equals. Please write this down. 3156. Because I actually want you to work backwards today by just seeing the formula and being able to get the information from it. 3156. 0.5236 x minus 1.5708, close your bracket, plus 6298. Okay, so again, you're going to be doing 3. Now I want you to just cross out E Okay, so that's just all determine the period of the graph. Now to determine, I want to talk, how do you determine the period of this graph? No. How do you find period? Period equals 2 pi over b. What's b? So whenever you get these, make sure you're doing this. Okay, do that before you even start. Make it familiar. Make it something that you know quite well. Okay, and then the rest are, get in your calculator. Can you figure out the window settings, right? Okay, number 4. There's your picture. From it, determine the amplitude, right? The midline. Okay. How far is the person above the ground when it starts rotating? All those things that you can just look at the graph. Okay, so we're going to do 4 and 5. Okay, there's your equation. For 5, I want you to omit D. I want you to do E, and then you can omit F and G. Let's do 6. See, there's the equation again. For 6, omit F. And then there's 2 multiple choice questions just looking at a graph. Or 2 numerical, I should say. Okay. So everybody will get done their homework today, right? It's quick stuff. 5 minutes a graph, you'll get done. So there should be no homework for the weekend. You should be leaving getting this stuff. We do have East today. I don't know if you know that. So some of you do have, some came in at lunch and reroute quizzes today, but there is no E in it. No, we got an email that's on Monday. No East today. Or there is East today. There is no ENN /. Okay, so let's get working. Get it done. Have no homework for the weekend. Get 6 out of 5. Get that study sheet buttoned up because we've got a quiz on.